Hello, I am Christopher Finley, one of the co-hosts of this podcast. Everything here is provided by the LAPE, entire thing that pays for us to be here and for the research that's being done. And I am joined by...
You are joined, Christopher, by your co-host.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, your co-host. I was going to say your late co-host, but I'm not late. I'm alive. I'm here.
Yeah, you are.
This is Susan Varnett, and this is our podcast for the Undergraduate Research Journal, which we aptly named Insert Research Here.
Yep, that is what we called it. And we don't really have... We're going to be freeform today, like jazz in terms of what we're going to talk about. But there are some prepared things, such as you had a letter or things that you wanted to go on about.
Sure.
Yeah.
So part of what we were talking about is how to give people an idea of what the URJ is about, rather than it being just a static journal online. And so what I did is I pulled up on my laptop the letter that the editorial team wrote for the current issue, which just was published last week with the title Boldly Moving Forward, Volume 16, Issue 1. And so this was the letter that the editors shared at the beginning of the journal. And there's a little bit in here, Christopher, that is from you. And so I'm going to ask you a question about that after.
All right.
So I'm going to read, and maybe I won't read the whole letter all at once, but like maybe we can read some and then talk about it.
Yeah,
so,
we can do that.
All right. So dear readers, with the new academic school year, the fall 2023 semester has been a new beginning for many of us at University of California, Merced. With that being said, our team is proud to present the Undergraduate Research Journal, Boldly Moving Forward, Volume 16, Issue 1. In this issue, the editorial team chose this theme of boldly moving forward to reflect what happens for our team, authors, and readers. Our team ran into complications, which we had to overcome and boldly move forward. We hope our authors continue their great work, boldly move forward, and make the impact we know they are capable of. For our readers, we hope that this work inspires you. Boldly move forward in our topsy-turvy world. Boldly moving forward is about growth after experiences. As editor-in-chief, and I am not the editor-in-chief, but the editor-in-chief is Evelyn Roque. So it says, as editor-in-chief, I, Evelyn Roque, wanted to show how the team grew from our experiences creating this issue as represented in the following statements. So I'm going to skip a whole bunch of statements, which we can come back to, because the statements talk about everything from how being part of the Undergraduate Research Journal staff has enriched people's sense of confidence and also instilled in them a belief in their own capabilities, because they had to collaborate with authors. They had to collaborate as editors. They had to have the confidence to be editors. And teamwork, like how being a member of the URJ is not like being a member of a group in a class or a team in a class, because you are all staff members. You are all working like in tandem, and what one person does is dependent on what someone else does, and that for that person to be successful, etc. And so we spent a lot of time building our team skills. But I'm going to come down here to this little part. And so this is written by this guy named Christopher Finley. Yeah, his title is Podcast Development Coordinator.
Okay.
And the podcast is titled Insert Research Here. So this is what Christopher Finley had to say about his experience, okay? And I would like to know what's behind the experience. Okay. So the URJ has taught me that research is much more than academic papers. Research is connecting with other students. Learning from other disciplines can spark ideas within my own focus. The lessons coming from being a part of the journal are a myriad swirling ball of change that can only fully be understood from within the URJ itself. And from the position of putting the journal together, I learned I must expand, yet I must become like the journal itself. I learned to swirl and change to see from new perspectives and must continue to swirl as time pushes forward. Best, Christopher Finley. So when I was reading that with the editor-in-chief, she and I were proofreading.
Yeah.
You know, we were going through. We were having like I think it was maybe 9 o'clock at night on a Tuesday or something. We're proofreading everything before we published the issue. And we were taking turns, right? Reading each other's things.
Yeah.
And so I got to read yours, and then she got to read what I wrote in my voice, right?
Yeah.
And so when we got to yours, we were like, oh, English major.
Yeah.
Total English major. And then I was joking around, and I was like, oh, yet I must expand, yet I must become like the journal itself. And I was like, oh, Descartes.
Yeah.
I think therefore I am. This is getting really meta. So what do you mean?
By all of that?
Yes.
I'll quote, I'll leave the professor out, but you lack clarity. That is some in my comments. Yeah. So what do I mean by that?
Yeah.
That I lack clarity. Even when I'm trying to be clear, that the whole swirling ball of change is very, like, even when you're within that, especially within the journal, and you're seeing so many different disciplines, and you're trying to see what works for yourself and for others in terms of research, that there is no real clarity. So that, like, I'm becoming the whole thing. Therefore I am. I'm still have that mind body problem that Descartes has. I'm both, and I can't jump that gap of which one really am I. But yeah.
So
you want to know more about the myriad ball of change?
yeah. So I'm speechless, and I'm not often speechless.
I'll work through like a lot of what I try to do, even when I'm writing.
Yeah.
Is I'm trying to get like one point across, but usually I'll like hit the nail like 3 times. So I'll repeat myself over and over. That happens usually. But I'm like, you usually get like a first or second draft from me for like anything. So I'm always trying to work out like just one idea. But that idea is the idea that I'm always having in my head. So it is always that myriad swirling of a ball. But that's existence, and that's life, and that's everything of what the URJ has taught me beforehand. That is more than just what we're doing in class. Because like here we have Eduardo, and we have Vlad, we have video and audio. We have you as a mentor that's leading it, but also like we talked before about you stepping back, and it's us taking over. So nothing is ever static. Everything is always swirling and moving. I mean, I don't know if it's Herodotus or somebody else. You can't step in the same river twice.
Yeah, that's who it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's that kind of thing.
It's interesting because the other thing that I think of, like, so when I read, and from the position of putting together the journal, I learned I must expand. It's like one of the things, and this is one of the things that can be terrifying, especially for people who are new to the journal, or even as an advisor like myself. It can be terrifying to step in a role where you know that you have a public-facing journal, right?
Yeah.
And it's public-facing. Anyone can read it. Once something is published on it, it's there, forever, basically, right? And we are part of the UC system, so we also have a responsibility to honor that and to honor the values, right, of education, of research, and all of that. But at the same time, it's like at the beginning of each semester, you have no clue whatsoever what you're going to be publishing.
Yeah.
You only know that you're putting together an issue, right?
Yeah.
And it's going to be dependent on what is submitted, what is accepted, how people work through that. And so it's like I was thinking about what you were saying, like that it is swirling and changing. And it's interesting. So I'm going to read my little bit in my voice, unless you want to. Do you want to read my little bit and imitate me?
I don't think I can. I don't think I can. Do the Boston.
All right. What did I learn? I had to unlearn. Sorry. Let me go back. See, I'm still learning. What did I learn? I had to unlearn being in charge. I learned that each person brings personality, insight, and skill to make a team not just function, but also to create something that otherwise never before would have existed. a number of small steps. This is the swirling part this is kind of the way I interpret your swirling part. A number of small steps adds up to incredibly complex and networked outcomes in the research process and in publishing a journal. Process becomes product. Product is a testament to process. In learning and in publishing, make room for mistakes. Have a belief in process. Have a belief in learning by doing, and by creating a reflexive environment to honor all. And so it's interesting too, because like you pointed out, like one of my roles is to step back and let the students run the show and tell me what they need to be successful. And so, you know, one of the things that I always have to like learn in this particular role is like I have to unlearn being in charge, but then being responsible whenever it's needed. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not that I had to, not that I was irresponsible before.
Yeah.
But it's like a different kind of responsibility. So.
And you got to do that every single semester. You have to learn that and keep doing that, where you step back and.
Yeah.
While still having to be the person that has seen it before, what it was in the past.
Well, and
what
that
shape,
can
what
help
shape
map
it was. Yeah, it can help map it, but it's going to change again, just like the swirling. Every time
it is.
It's a circle, but it's a different circle every time.
It is that Ouroboros thing.
Yeah, now we're back.
Now we're back to literary references.
Eating ourselves forever. Yeah.
Eating our own tails. I'm laughing as if that's hilarious.
Yeah,
it almost is.
Yeah, it is. It's why it survived for so long as a symbol.
So the other thing, like with our newest issue coming out, it's really cool because one of the things the students do that I don't think a lot of people would recognize is that from the very beginning, it's like we go through the previous issue because every semester the staff changes. Every semester. There may be some people who carry over, right? But like this semester, this fall, not a single person from last semester became a part of the staff except for you, right? Yeah. Because everybody else pretty much graduated. And so
yeah, they did.
It's like so it's like at the beginning, everybody, like what we do is we go back and we look at the previous issue. We reflect on it. I have the students write up like what was really successful to you? What would you change, right? I have them do that with the websites. And it's really interesting because in the beginning, it's such a learning experience. In the beginning, people are really quick to be hypercritical and want to make all of these changes. And then they realize that they're the ones who have to enact everything. And that enacting the change can be extraordinarily time consuming on a number of levels because they're learning the skills to be able to make the changes. They're working as part of a team to get consensus regarding the changes, right? And, you know, so on and so forth. And so it was really funny because toward the end of this issue, we all got together for part of a day and like just did some final proofreading together and whatnot. And we had this idea that like in 3 hours, we'll knock this out. In 3 hours, we figured out what else we needed to do for another, 6 hours, you know? And so, but that happens.
Yeah.
And then there becomes like this threshold of like, oh my word, maybe we should just let this typo go.
Yeah.
And you don't want to admit that because you don't want to let anything go because you're, again, public facing.
Yeah.
Right? So anyway, so then you stay up late and you go through everything and, you know.
Sometimes you gotta let it go.
Yeah.
I had that with editing somebody's paper. I was like,
talk about it.
If you think it was like came towards the very end, and I was like, you need to just let's go through it. And they went through it for some amount of time, and then it was just like, if it doesn't feel right, just let it go, just completely, just remove it. Sometimes you just have to stop, or else you'll get another 6 hours into 3 hours.
That's true too.
Yeah.
So, what next?
What next?
Yeah.
We have the thing on Friday. That's the end, and it's going to start again in the spring. And then you talked about something when we had a little meeting about getting to let people see you practice and also see you perform.
Yeah.
I thought that was great. If you can remember.
Can you jog my memory a little more? I remember that now.
You got to let people see you practice. So like how you were talking about how new people coming into the journal. And all those expectations of because that's a lot of what even what I hear from people, they're apprehensive about what they're going to have to do when they get in the URJ. And then you perfectly summed it up with that.
So, all right. So, and I can't take full credit for that. I don't remember where I heard that. But it's an idea that has been floating around in my mind for quite some time. And it's the idea that so often, and it's weird because with a journal, you have a final product and we think of, we see a final product and that can look really intimidating because we haven't been part of the process. If we have not been part of the process of creating that final product, all we see is the product.
Yeah.
And it seems to have everything together, no confusion. Everything's dotted. Maybe there's a hidden typo somewhere snuck away in the essay, right? In the third essay on the 5th line of the 4th page or something like that. But one of the things so people will see that, and a lot of times, I could see students being intimidated for joining the journal because they see the final product and they think, oh my word, I couldn't do that. I couldn't make that happen right now. And as a faculty member, I remember the very first time that I was the advisor for the URJ, I looked at the previous journals and I was like, I can't do that. How am I going to do that? This is, right? How am I going to do this? There are just so many moving parts. And so one of the things in the journal that I stress over and over and over again, and I have to stress it to myself as well, is that being a part of a team like the journal is a place where you allow other people to see you practice. You allow other people to see you get dirty. You allow other people to see you struggle. It's nope, I still can't hit that note. I'm going to keep repeating, trying to do it. Still can't hit that note. And so one of the things in my mind that makes the journal such an amazing thing is that everybody in the room gives each other one of our tenets is we are allowed to make mistakes. Yeah. We are allowed to know that we do not know how to do something. We are allowed to ask for help. We are allowed to make mistakes again.
Yep.
Right? And some of that too is and I tell the students, some of these things I'm going to be learning, right? Alongside you. Technology moves very swiftly.
Yeah.
And, and so while I may know writing conventions and all of that, I don't always know the interface between us and a website or us and a podcast or us and Vlad over there who wants to chuck one of those cameras through a window, or Eduardo who wants to help him. You just never know. So the thing about the practice versus performance is that I think so often many of us, myself included, I think so often many of us see our identities being judged or attached to a final product as opposed to being attached to the process by which we moved toward that final product. And so it's really cool, actually. This is actually a different class I teach, but it's a sister class to the journal. So it's there's the journal class, and then there's also an editing class. And one of the students made a comment last night in the editing class, because we're putting together, each individual in that class is putting together a webpage about authorship and editorship. And one of the students just point blank said, one of the things I love about this class is that I'm allowed not to do things perfectly. I'm allowed to experiment. I'm allowed to get things wrong and learn from that. And it's the product is that process of learning. And it doesn't mean that we also don't want to revise things. We're about revising things, but it's it just felt really like affirming to hear a student like totally unprompted say that. And then to hear like, so for example, I'm going to read something that somebody else said in the letter. So Joseph Sanchez, he's an engineering major, and he was our social media and publicity manager. And so he actually had taken the sister class to the URJ last semester. And so this is what he had to say. He said, through my participation in the undergraduate research journal, I have developed a greater sense of self-assurance. This meant that I would always enter the class with a positive attitude and engage in conversation with my team. Even though I've been involved in many organizations throughout campus and have been very social outside the classroom, when it came to inside the classroom, it was different. I've become more confident communicating with my peers, which was something I found particularly challenging to do during previous semesters. By consistently meeting deadlines and submitting assignments on time, I acquired valuable time management skills. I also gained insight into what to anticipate when undertaking a research opportunity in the future and writing my own research paper. Additionally, I improved my skills by adhering to styles such as MLA, APA, Chicago, and others. I acquired the knowledge to consistently assist individuals in need, whether they are my team members or my author. This knowledge ensures that I'm always assisting those in need. And so it's like, while his entire comment doesn't talk about like that freedom to like see others grow, when he mentions at the end like assisting others in need, it creates a community of like, somebody might say, does anybody know how to do this on Canva?
Yeah.
Or does anybody know how to how do I post this on the website and not ruin all the formatting, right? Or whatever it might be. And so it becomes like a working organism together rather than, just the final product.
Yeah.
There's another one in here that I was going to read.
Okay.
So this one too, was a lot about, this was from our associate editor and art director, Mireia Contreras, and I don't pronounce her last name super perfectly, but Mireia, I'm getting used to pronouncing, and she's awesome. And she said, being part of the undergraduate research journal at UC Merced has been a highly enriching experience. This journey has not only fostered an increased sense of confidence within me, but has also instilled a belief in my own capabilities. Collaborating with authors, a task I had not envisioned myself undertaking, has been particularly enlightening. Navigating the collaborative process has exposed me to diverse perspectives, methodologies, and writing styles, expanding my horizons within the scholarly landscape. I hold profound admiration and appreciation for each written piece, recognizing its unique contribution to the ethos of UC Merced and the URJ. Moreover, this involvement has facilitated my personal and academic growth. And so it's like, it's by having a place where it's like I can start with insecurity about something. It doesn't necessarily mean I'm telling anybody I have it. You know what I mean? But I get to move through it, right? And I get to be built up. That collaboration. It's a really cool place for collaboration. And it also is like a way of like modeling how collaborative research in and of itself is, right? Like we're always extending on what came before, always looking for the new gap. Where can we take this next? What more do we need to know? What more do we need to test, and in what ways? So, yeah. How about you? What was your experience like in the URJ?
The first time or right now? The second time? How
about the first time?
1.5.
Yeah. And then you can go into 1.5.
I would agree with, was it Joseph? About getting in there and actually talking and having like that kind of community because there is the whole disconnect coming from community college, and it was fully online when I did it. That there wasn't really, you never really talked to anybody. It was all over Zoom. So coming into it and then building that team and having people to like somewhat be like social within that really got me a little bit more confident, not just like through the research, but just like talking to people from being stuck either in an ambulance or behind a computer screen for so long. Yeah. That basically was like the first time.
Our listeners may not know that you were an EMT.
I might have mentioned it before. I don't remember.
So in case,
I will, like I said before, I repeat
in case
myself
anybody
over and
didn't
over.
know that, and this was during COVID, right?
Slightly before, and then during COVID.
Yeah, an EMT. So our podcast host was an EMT. So, anybody and everybody, right, can can have amazing experiences and also bring those experiences to, you know what I mean? To another,
don't ever
another
forget.
place.
Yeah, forget that. Everybody has their thing that they're coming from. As much as we get blinded by we're just people walking around. We all have varied things.
Yeah, we
each
do.
and every one of us.
Yeah.
Even I forget, but yeah.
Yeah. All right. So what about this? What about this year? Because this has been really different.
Yeah, where I was asked to edit and this and that, and a little bit more. I mean, it's a little bit of old hat for me now. That's why I tell people you'll get used to it. Even the first semester of people asking about it, you'll get in the routine of what you need to do, and then it becomes a lot easier. So any fear you have coming in will dissipate. And this has just been doing this project has been, it's been a lot because we're both coming at it from not knowing anything. It's been very busy. So it's been a learning experience of learning to hear my own voice and see my own image that you normally only see in a mirror or kind of thing, or pictures. But it's a very different thing.
It is a different thing.
Yeah.
And so here's the deal too, right? Going back to this, it's awesome because it gives both of us an opportunity to try something new alongside each other, right?
Yeah.
I'm not the expert. These guys over there.
Yeah, they are.
They're the experts. They know what's going on.
Yeah.
They're talking about something right now with that camera again, and I just can't blame them. I just can't blame them at all. I want to talk. Well, I'm not going to toss a camera because it belongs to the library. You know how that goes.
Yeah, I'm not going to do anything about that.
But sugar, I just lost my train of thought. What were we just saying, Christopher?
Throwing cameras. You were going to.
No,
throw
yeah,
a
but
camera.
before throwing cameras, there was something else we were talking about that was important-ish.
Just about being in the URJ.
Oh no,
Yeah.
no, but there was
no.
Yeah, but it was the thing about having the space to learn something totally new alongside somebody else, right? And not have this goes back to the practicing thing, right? I am not an expert in podcasting.
Yeah, right.
But here we are.
Yeah, here we are.
Here we are finding our way.
Yeah.
Right? And the thing is, it's we could have just said, no, we're not going to do that because we're not experts.
Yeah.
And we don't want anybody to see what we don't know yet. Right? And instead, it's no, we're going to go for it.
Yeah.
And we're going to learn alongside each other. And anybody who doesn't understand, we came up with this joke that we were going to make 2 letter M's for mentor and mentee.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And one M was going to be big. Right? And that was for the mentee. And then one was going to be bigger. And that was for the mentor. And we were going to pass them back and forth. Right? Some days I get to be the mentor. Some days I need to be the mentee. And so it's that thing of it's freeing, while at the same time, it can be anxiety producing because you don't know how it's going to turn out.
Yeah.
You don't know how other people are going to perceive it. You don't know how you're going to be judged or not judged, right?
Yep.
And so that goes back to the practice versus performance, right?
It even goes back to what I said in the letter to the editor about expanding and being within the journal itself, because there's all those rules while you're still doing whatever you're doing, and you can fail and fall flat on your face while doing it.
And here's the deal. You can also have others to get up, to say, hey, I've been there. I get it. We're going to keep moving. We're going to keep doing all of the little steps, right? That goes back to my thing about process. We're going to keep doing all the little steps, and we're going to trust that every little step adds up to a really big outcome.
Yeah.
And if we just keep following the steps and we anticipate that we may have, thresholds and we may get thrown against a wall by a pen, a laptop, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
I would feel wicked bad if I didn't include everybody who's in this letter, because I don't want anybody to feel left out.
Okay.
And just in case like our readers are like afraid there are 450 people here, there are 3 others. One is the managing editor, and one was the campus outreach and event coordinator, and one is the editor-in-chief. And so I wanted to, going back along with the line of like working as a team. So Jorge Matias Conde, he was our campus outreach and event coordinator, and he also had been in the previous class. And he said, what I learned from the URJ is that working with a team is very important. Teamwork is important because you have someone who can look at your work and also to ask what is going on in the assignment and editorial tasks you are looking over. Having a team, you can bounce around ideas, a practice that can be very helpful when coming up with an idea and a plan. Also, having differing opinions and thoughts is very insightful, as you can see why your fellow editors did what they did and chose to approve a piece. It is nice to have companions to talk to about the same project, to see a point or two that you did not think about, and to have more ideas to discuss. And I thought that was really cool. And then we've got Emily Lee. She was our managing editor. And she said, my role as the managing editor for the URJ has provided me with invaluable experience that will stay with me as I move forward in school and eventually into the workforce. This position granted me the opportunity to learn new skills that helped me and everyone complete their tasks efficiently while maximizing their work output. It pushed me outside of my comfort zone, encouraging my growth as both an editor and as a team member. I am endlessly grateful for the amazing URJ team that, despite being small in number, pushed forward to create the newest issue. They created a space where growth is encouraged and mistakes are learning opportunities. I would like to extend my thanks to the student authors who submitted their work and offered us the opportunity to promote undergraduate research at UC Merced. And then the very last part, so we got some of her perspective, but the very last part is from the editor-in-chief, Evelyn Roque. And she said, my lesson came in different colors. The biggest lesson I had to learn was that I could not do everything, and I especially could not do everything by myself. Collaboration is such a crucial aspect to life and what the URJ is built on. Collaboration between editors and authors, between authors and other researchers, between researchers and the public. In the creation of this issue, I also tried to tackle school, 3 jobs, and being president of a club, all on top of being editor-in-chief for the first time, all by myself. Except I wasn't entirely by myself, and I will never forget that. And then she ends with a poem. She says, trusting people, it is how I boldly move forward. We, together, grew, and now we are boldly moving forward. Yeah. So that's our current crew and kind of the philosophy behind the URJ and kind of how it works. Yeah.
Evelyn spoke to that when she was on here with her.
I'm glad she spoke to that.
It was a little different in terms of learning to trust strangers after a lifetime of don't ever trust strangers.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, strangers are they can be a little strange.
Mm-hmm. People are strange. Mm-hmm.
Unstrangers, or people who are known to us, can also be strange. Mm-hmm. Sometimes more stranger
than the stranger.
More stranger. I don't think that's not grammatical, but we'll throw it in there. It'll just work. For cheap kicks. Mm-hmm. I can't even trust what's going to come out of my mouth next.
Neither can I. But.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So let me ask you this, Christopher.
Okay.
So you've been a super proponent of the URJ ever since you got involved last semester.
Yeah.
And so what is the experience that you find yourself wanting other students to have that you were able to have? What is the experience you want students to have?
That is because it's so focused on myself. It's one of those very self-focused questions.
All right, well, maybe we should rephrase it. All right, That's
'Cause
pretty wise though. Yeah, no, that's
Yeah,
wise. Let me
'cause-
rephrase it.
yeah.
I'm not trying to like turn you into like a self-focused like.
Oh, I will be. I can answer that question. I have no problem answering the question, but it'll be
No,
completely on me.
no, that's good. I'm glad I'm glad you called me out on that. So the other thing would be like, what is it that you would hope students like people who are nervous about it, like what experiences would you like share with them, I guess, that would allow them to overcome their like trepidation or fear or whatever it might be?
Okay. Yeah, that they will find whatever like brought them to even thinking about the URJ in the first place. Like whether that's social media or working with the actual website or talking to people or editing, whatever that little tiny spark there, that they'll be able to find that in the URJ. And just like what you talked about with everybody writing their letter, whether that be confidence too, just even more personal, it doesn't have to do with the URJ, that they will be able to find that emotional or even like professional thing within the journal that will allow them to, be more of themselves, to expand more. Yeah.
So what was your thing in the journal?
My thing is that I really want to learn, because I want to go on to grad school, that to get not good at editing, but see the entire process, because it's a very long process of learning to do like a long paper, and you have references for everything and how structurally that is put together and how it moves from one draft to another, and then how it actually gets published even at the undergraduate level, because this is all practice, because everything is always practice. It's like you were saying, that you go from one level to the next and you always need to keep doing that. So I thought it would be best for me to get in there and learn at least from one angle what is needed to take place for research.
So you said something else that really struck me, and it is the phrasing was something along the lines of that they'll be able to better find themselves or better be themselves or something like that. So for you, what part, like how did you feel that you became almost like more yourself in that process?
It's a very weird thing, like, because you're always like becoming yourself. It's not like, I don't want to get like, oh, you're always killing your past self, but you're always like holding hands with yourself and like moving forward. I don't know. You could also say like you're pushing yourself, boldly moving forward, kind of weird thing. You're always at one point, and you never know who you are in the future, but you're always trying to be that person in the future while still being that person in the present. So you're having a conversation with your future self, like, hopefully I can be more confident in this situation. Like, you're not confident in that situation, but you're telling yourself, oh, okay, future me, you're going to be confident. And in those 2 minutes, sometimes you are, sometimes you're not, but you're always that new person from minute to minute. You're never fully the same.
So, all right, that goes back to the Herodotus.
Mm-hmm.
Man never steps in the same river twice. The other thing I was thinking, like as you were talking, I was trying to synthesize in my own head how you were putting together the idea of, like, you want to go to graduate school. You wanted to see, or what I understand you having said in a way is like you wanted to see how the research writing got put together, right? Like what makes it tick? What does it look like? What is it expected to look like in certain like formats or in certain platforms or with certain style guides or whatever it might be. And then you also were talking about how it also ties into almost like this idea of becoming more yourself. And it's like, it got me thinking that like on some level, and I may be reaching here, but on some level it's like seeing what can be done by other undergraduates with research and learning that you can also be the person to become the editor of that, to have the confidence, and also not just the confidence, but the tools, right? Like if you have a question about something, like how does this get, how does this get stylized, or how does this actually work, or do we need to have them work on, strengthening the conclusion or the thesis or whatever
Yeah.
it is. It's like in that experience of showing others how to better do what they're doing, maybe it builds a kind of confidence that allows a person like yourself to feel like, okay, if I can do it in this context, perhaps I can also do research in a graduate context, right?
Yeah. And that's really, now that you've been talking through my own points, and I don't
know if I am summarizing the right
you
or
are,
leaping.
but no, you're not leaping.
sort of-
You're not leaping at all, and it's much better because I will just keep repeating myself if somebody else takes what I say and like repeat it back to me. Then I can think about it, and then I'll have to talk.
I might
at the
have
same time.
reinvented your ideas though. So like,
No,
if I
but
did,
that
just
is
tell me.
that is really what I'm doing in terms of, I see it not as very selfish, but I am going through all of these different disciplinary papers that are so far away from English, but still so close about what they're doing in their papers, whether that conclusion is weak, strong, this needs to go here. All of those things come back to what I'm doing. So in a way, I get to live like 50 times through other people, and I get to see it done more than I could possibly ever do it at any one point in time. So I'm not stealing things, but I'm picking up things from every discipline and every person I'm coming into contact with. So it's the same thing with past papers with the Spanish-speaking community, and that was with Brian. And every paper that I've ever edited has, like, in some way sparked something back to what either I personally like, or I've been able to think about it in some different way and pick up and have that piece of, like, not one puzzle, but a lot of puzzles that I can just put in my pocket and go, I have that.
Yeah, it got
Where I mix metaphors.
What you're saying, no.
I do that all the time.
I know. Well, who am I? What am I? I'm a car driving around in a parking lot. You can't say that. Say I'm a car driving around in a parking lot.
I'm a car riding around a parking lot.
No, say it the way you normally say.
Oh, I'm a car riding around a parking lot.
Yeah.
I was like, I can't do the Boston one. No.
Sorry, folks. We just needed a little, like, it's an afternoon. It's 3:17 in the afternoon, and coffee's going down, and
yeah,
it's Red Bull time.
Well,
I shouldn't be bringing up any brands. I'll probably get in trouble. It's coffee time. All right, good. We can cut it out. Thank you, Vlad. We should leave Vlad in though, and if we could possibly get Eduardo's nod. I like Eduardo's nod over there. It kind of reassures me that I haven't entirely,
lost it.
Well, something like that.
Throwing a camera yet?
Yeah. Absorbed a camera into my armpit. Sorry. What I realized might be a cool thing to do, because I know we're probably getting toward probably getting toward the end. What I wanted to do that I thought would be really cool is just share the titles and the names of the people who are in the current issue.
Yeah, go for it.
Because, maybe they'll listen to the podcast too.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have, and I'm just going in the order in which they're published.
Okay.
So I have The Hypersexuality of Women in Video Games, the Effects It Has on Society and the Business Industry. And that is by Maya Star Tabares. And then we have The Effects of Insecurity on Lifetime Happiness, a review of the literature and a study by Caden Palmer. We have Prevalence of and Risk Factors for Nervios and Other Psychological Disparities in Latinx Migrant Farm Workers in Central California by Ashley Ratcliffe Wynn. We have a literature review on the lack of research of emotional abuse and the repercussions by Alyssa Tao. We have The Evolution and Spread of Antibiotic Resistance in Microorganisms by Vindam Bao and Sahil Malhi. We have Associations between red and processed meat consumption and risk of developing colorectal cancer, a comprehensive meta-analysis and systematic review by Dia Vakil. And we have Microblack Holes, What Do We Know from Recent Research by Maximilian Cozy. And so, just to give people a taste of the range of the kind of articles. And last spring, I believe we actually had 20 authors, not 20 pieces, because some of the pieces were co-authored. So I think it's between 15 to 20 pieces, and with this wider range. And sometimes people think that the URJ is just about STEM. It's not. It's about humanities. It's about social sciences. It is about STEM. It's also about public health. And one of the things we really want to like increase is like our exposure for our growing public health population and major here. And also like one of the things that's really, really cool about the URJ and some of the other journals is that, because we also have an undergraduate creative writing journal, is that like it's a way to like make writing studies and like our major and our minor. It's a way to allow students to professionalize themselves.
Yeah.
You know, and to take themselves really seriously as professionals. And it's exciting to see that. And Emily, one of the editors for this issue, she and I were like joking at the end of our 3-hour marathon session of going through copy. And I was like, well, Emily, you and I might be able to convert just about any source citation into APA and back again into MLA or CMOS in our sleep.
Yeah.
I mean, not everybody can say that they have that talent.
Yeah.
Nor does everybody want it.
No, I don't want that talent.
So that's it. That's the scoop.
Yeah.
At least for today. That's
At
what
least
we know today.
That's what we know today.
That's what we know today. Tomorrow
yeah.
we'll know something else.
Me pushing future me.
Yeah, me pushing future me. And I had a really cool conversation with a journalist this week, or maybe it was last week. My days are blurring. But he said that one of the premises in journalism is that, like, for a story, like, you always want to fact check. You always want multiple points of view. And he said, and the story you publish, even though you fact check, you get multiple points of view, you want to make sure that it has integrity and that you're really writing the stories that need to be written. And he said, but you also have to remember that you are using like the best knowable facts that you have at the time. And sometimes that changes. And so I was thinking about, like, with the research and the journal, it's like what we see published right now, this is what we know, right?
Yeah.
From the information, the best knowable facts we have right now. And then it's like, then what next? And then how do we get that next set of information? And granted, like in journalism, it may be a very different kind of information or process, but I just thought that was really, really cool. It's like I'm doing the best as a researcher, as a person, as my present me, as I can, with the knowable facts I have.
Yep.
And future me is always on the lookout for what next, right?
Exactly. Oh, that's a good point as any to end our time here for the future. It'll be in the spring for whatever comes next in terms of episodes with.
Yeah. So the other thing is, I'm doing a shout out.
Okay.
To anyone listening, and it might just be the four of us in this room. And in that case, it's a really awesome shout out, and like for the most awesome people ever to be at the same latitude and longitude simultaneously, right? That we come up with a really cool theme for our next issue.
Okay. Yeah. Great. Well, I've been Christopher Finley.
I have been and am and will continue once I go through the gray doors. I will be Susan Varnett.
Yeah. I might change going through the doors. But.
Well, that's because you're swirling.
Okay.
And right now, I'm just trying to be I am.
Yeah.